And we're on. Welcome to the Anker SOLIX F3800 Live. Tonight we're welcoming Reese from Frugal Repair. He trained as a computer scientist, so Reese is very familiar with technology, even as he keeps his home life in Pennsylvania very low tech. So several years ago, he was inspired to save money on utility bills and installed his own whole home solar panel system. Since then, he's gained experience with large batteries made by Anker and other brands that you're very familiar with. Reese has installed a home power panel system at his home, and he's going to show us what he did and how he did that and what it looks like. In fact, he set up his camera so you can actually see his setup. Um, so we're going to start with Reese explaining that in his Solix F3800 system, and then move into your questions. Reese, show us.
All right. Well,
Oh, hold on. We've got a technical difficulty. I am so sorry. So I am being told the audience cannot see you. So this
oh,
is something I have to figure
okay.
out again on my end. All right, I think we've got it now. Sam is in the control room telling me the things. So I'm hoping he'll update me really quickly.
Oh, hey,
It's
that's working
100%
now.
Reese. It's all Reese. Awesome. We'll take that for now.
All right. I don't know what the delay is like here. I'm moving my hands. Okay. So, hi everybody. Thanks for having me, Juliet. So you wanted me to talk about what I have behind me here in my little closet. So, what I have here is the home power panel, and down here, you want to point the camera down. We have two F3800s. And then two expansion batteries on each one. And what this is able to do is really cool. It can use this battery storage back and forth to the all of the loads in the house. So to the right of the home power panel is the backup load center, and then over there is the main load center for the whole house. And so what it can do, basically two main functions, is that it can backfeed power to all of the loads in the house from the batteries, and it can act as an automatic transfer switch. So if the grid were to go down, then all of the loads in the backup panel will be powered automatically by the batteries. So it's pretty cool. So you would use the localized backfeeding to save on utility bills. If you had time of use rates, that's a great example, where if you want to run off the batteries, have your house powered by the batteries during the peak time where it costs the most, and then charge them back up either by solar or when the rates are lower. So this will enable you to do that. Installing it is fairly simple. I didn't take this off because it's all live wires, but basically there's 4 slots here and 4 slots over here on the side behind this panel, and that the 4 slots over here are from the main panel. There's a breaker on the main panel. It's 100 amps, and then that feeds over here. So you have your 2 hot wires, your neutral, and your ground. So there's just 4 wires on this side, and then the same set of 4 wires on this side that feed the source for the backup panel. And so really I had an electrician put this in, didn't take them very long to do it because I already had the backup load center already there. If you have to put one of those in, that takes a few more hours for an electrician to do. And it really just depends on like physically how much they have to move things around. But it really wasn't much if you already have something like this to add the home power panel. Not much at all. I think 2 hours or so it took him, between 2 and 3 hours. So hopefully that's a helpful overview. You can stack more batteries on here to get more capacity on the F3800s. The home power panel can take 2 of them that are plugged in right here. You can't add any more, but you really don't even need to add any more because the two of these, the inverters on them can, when you have two, it can output 12,000 watts of power. And that's going to be enough for most homes. So then what you're really concerned about is capacity. So the capacity you can expand. It's a plug and play system. So you just buy another battery, plug it in with the cable. And so it works very well, and it works pretty cool. So, but I'll stop there and see if there's any questions for Juliet. Hopefully that was a good
Yeah. So,
introduction.
Reese, I'm curious, like, how would you rate this project on a DIY scale? Like, would you say it's something that would require a lot of skill, or I know that's a really difficult thing to sort of measure from afar, but give me your perspective on that.
Yeah, that's a really good question because I think that this system is pretty DIY friendly, whereas other systems you have to get an installer to put it in. And so, in terms of electrical comfortability, I'd say if you're comfortable changing an outlet or a switch in your house, and you understand a little bit about um, amperage and size of wires, you don't have to know a whole lot. But if you kind of know that a little bit, I think a lot of homeowners do, then I think this is a very doable DIY project. And if
That's
you're uncomfortable,
fantastic.
you can always hire your own electrician to do it.
Yeah, that's a fantastic background on that. So you have this set up with your whole home power system, and you can do that because you have the home power panel. Can you talk a little bit about, what that work was like? And just in terms of making that connection. Because again, you have to have the home power panel in order to use your whole home power system with the F3800 setup.
Well, you maybe technically you don't because, well, see, the other way you could do it is if you have a generator inlet box and you want to power your backup loads, you could use the output on the side of the F3800. So it has the 50 amp style plug. So for example, I have it down
Yeah,
here.
say more
You could
about
get you
that.
you can get one of these guys and plug it in, and then plug this end into your generator inlet box. I have one over there.
Gotcha.
But that is going to be for backup loads. If you're if you want to power your whole home and use what I'm calling localized backfeeding feature, then you need the home power panel. Um,
Gotcha.
but you're asking how what was it like installing it? If I remember your
Yeah,
question.
exactly. I want to know a little bit about what was it like to make that connection. A question we get in the group so often is, can I use this with my whole home power, my whole home solar system? And the answer I always give is, yeah, you have to have the home power panel, though. Like that's an important piece of it. So can you talk about how that connection works? I don't know if I'm being very clear on that, so let me know if I'm not.
How about I just keep talking and then you steer me in the right direction.
I'll tell you, yeah, you're doing a
So
great job.
okay, so I have a solar array up on the roof, and a lot of people may not understand when you put in a solar system and it's grid connected. Your inverters are grid connected. There's really two ways to connect it in. One is to backfeed through your main panel, where all your circuit breakers are. The other way is called a line side tap. That's what I have. So my inverters are out in the garage and they're connected to the solar panels on the roof. And the line side tap means that it comes into the meter box, the utilities meter box itself. So it connects into the grid before it gets to my main panel. But it's on the customer side. So that's how
Gotcha.
that works. So if you have solar, it it will work with this system either way. It connects in. The one consideration is if you have like I have a line side tap, the home power panel comes with this current sensor and this that you plug in, and you can see I'm not using it.
Right.
Uh, that's because it's pretty challenging to get that sensor all the way out there where that point of connection is. But if it were at my breaker, like if I had, I'd say most people, their solar arrays, they backfeed into their main service panel. Then all you'd have to do is, there's plenty of wire here for this, like a room like this. You just clip this on one of the 120-volt legs of the output of your inverters,
Right.
and that would go into here, and that's how it would sense solar production. But you
How,
don't need it.
yeah.
You don't need that. The If you have one-to-one net metering like I do, you don't have to worry about that because you're going to get that credit anyway. But if you don't, and you want, whenever the solar is producing, you want that energy to be stored in the batteries, then that's where this is going to be critical to make
Gotcha.
sure that you're in, and also in the settings in the app, that it's set up right so that the power generated by your solar panels is going to go feed the batteries rather than just kind of go to waste.
Can you talk a little bit about, like, you've told me in our conversations you're very happy with this system. And since you're so knowledgeable about this system and other systems, can you talk a little bit about why this system stands out to you? I know it's not entirely perfect. It's the first version, but you're quite pleased with it. So I'd love to hear your perspective on why this works for you and your family as a solar solution.
Well, the thing that I like about it is that I am not familiar. Maybe there's a lot of systems like this that are pretty accessible. I haven't come across too many of them where you can just hook up a couple of wires, plug in battery systems, and then you have um, this method to power all of your loads in your home. Now, if you don't even have a backup load center, if you just want to use it for the like time of use options to save, then and then you could also still use it for power backup, right? You can just use the outlets right on the side if the power were to go out. But if you only wanted it to use it for that, it really is pretty simple in terms of the whole technical side of things, right? You grab an open slot on your main panel, 100 amp breaker, get the wires right over here, the four wires, and then mount it on the wall, four wires, and then just plug in these batteries. So
Yeah, it sounds
that's
like
what I
such a,
like about it, is it's fairly
yeah.
easy.
Yeah, it sounds like a very elegant solution, really, to a problem I think, increasingly we're all facing, which is how do I power my home, you know, when the grid fails, how do I, to keep my food safe and my family comfortable and medical devices and appliances running. So it's a very elegant solution for that, and I'm super proud of Anchor and the work that that team has done to come up with this. I'm going to start throwing some questions at you from the
Oh,
chat. This one comes from
okay.
YouTube. Oh, I'm sorry, this one comes from, no, it comes from YouTube. It's Robert's question. He says, have you measured the surge amperage on two F3800s plugged into the HPP? Surge
So,
amperage on two
mhm,
F3800s plus
yeah,
HPP.
while it's running,
Yep.
while it's running. So I think you'd need an anchor engineer to say exactly, but here's my guess as to what happens in that situation. When these seem to be dialed into a certain output limit when they're connected, and there's a chart I brought up earlier. I could look at it if we need to, but when there's two of them in the two battery configuration, like I have here, and it's connected to the grid like it is right now, you're going to get 6,000 watts of output maximum. And so my understanding is that there really isn't a surge, like the inverter is not going to pull more current out of the batteries above 6,000 watts. There's not going to be a surge because what it's going to do is the power is going to come from the grid.
Right.
So that's kind of how that works. If you were off grid and you had one or two of these connected and just your backup load center was going, and a compressor needed to be kicked on, then you would want to be mindful of the surge value there. Um, but when it's grid connected, that would be my answer on that one. Juliet, I didn't say, there's one other thing I remembered I didn't say that may be helpful for people to know. One of the things I didn't realize with this system was I thought, how does it work to backfeed? And isn't that going to be an issue? Because like when I had to put in my solar inverters, I had to fill out all the paperwork. I had to because they're going to backfeed to the grid. The power company needed to know about it. This this is UL 1741 rated, so it's not going to backfeed to the grid. Worst case scenario. But what it does is you put on some current sensors on your main panel. So basically, what it does is that it has the brains in here to measure the current such that it keeps the current at zero when it's running right at the edge of your service panel, so that it will never
Nice.
backfeed to the grid. So you do have to clip those on, and then the wires kind of run all the way into here. So that was something I forgot to mention. So
I'm glad you
that's
mentioned
where
it.
that localized backfeeding I'm talking
Yeah.
about, where it'll raise the voltage here so that all the loads in this service panel and the main service panel consume the power from the batteries. And if it needs more than that, it'll pull it from the grid. But while it's doing that, the current measured on the customer side of the meter would be zero. Um,
That's
if
a
I can sum that
fantastic
up.
addition because it speaks to safety and the safety of the system. And, you know, we have to be appreciative and grateful for our linemen who are out there in these horrible storms. We don't want this backfeeding to the grid and having, I mean, literally lives are on the line. So
Yeah,
I
they
want to,
they are really like my a guy came out here recently, and I talked to him about that very thing. He said he knows a guy that was there was this power outage, and they were working with this other crew. Somebody was running a generator, gas generator, backfeeding power, and the guy lost his arms. So it is a real thing. So you do need to be mindful of
yeah.
not never backfeeding.
It's dangerous work, and like as you got to look out for these people in your community.
Oh,
So
sure.
if you have any concerns at all about installing the system, hire it done or have someone come check your work that, a certified electrician. Just, be safe just to make sure. I mean, I know like I feel like I'm pretty handy, but I would definitely have someone look at the system because, another set of eyes never hurts.
Mhm.
So
Yep.
to your backup load center, F. Bradley Myers would like to know if the backup load center is basically a sub panel.
Yes.
That's the answer.
If I'm understanding the terminology right, it's not, you have your main panel and then you have your uh, sub panel. So it's this, if you see here, um, this would be my backup loads are all on here. Obviously, this is not a standard sub panel, but that's what it is functionally. And the the main, I said the 100 amp breaker comes off the main panel, feeds this, and then the backup wires go here and feed all the circuits in on this backup load center.
What brand is your backup load center there? I can't quite see the brand name there.
Oh, this is the EcoFlow Smart Home Panel 2.
Hey, you know what? Fair enough. Fair enough. I appreciate that your daughter has aimed the camera just right, though, so we're not giving our competition too much screen time.
Well, I can open the door here if I
Yeah,
can.
yeah.
There we go. Is
No, we
that
have we all know people
too
who
much
work at
glare?
EcoFlow. Much respect for our competitors there. So
So
Anna
you can work.
Romero,
They do work together. So if that's somebody has that
compatibility.
question. Yeah.
Everyone is friends here. Everyone is friends. Uh, Anna Romero would like to know what about when the power goes out? Does your setup still charge your batteries? That's an interesting question in my mind.
All right. So my setup does not,
Okay.
and that is because if the grid were to go down, okay. there's a little nuance to that I'll get to. If the grid were to go down, the solar panels on the roof will not produce power because they have grid tied inverters, and because of that UL 1741 standard, they shut down. They don't export power because if they don't sense the grid, it won't produce power. That's the same for this one. If it
Yeah,
doesn't sense the grid on these four connections, it will not export power out of these four connections. It will only do it on the backup loads. And so the backup loads are internal to my house. They're not going to go out to the grid.
right.
So basically the answer is no. However, if on the side of the F3800s, there is those two XT60 connectors. And so if you have the means to hook up solar panels, like I have some out in the backyard, I have it plugged in with an XT60. It's different than the solar panels on the roof. Then you can have them charged by solar panels that way if there was a power outage.
That's fantastic to hear. Thank you. And so Anna would also like to know if do you use a soft start? Do you have air conditioning? And if you do you use a soft start?
We don't have central air here.
Okay.
And so, I mean, we have window air conditioners, but not a central AC.
Yeah,
I
gotcha.
wonder is there a, is the, is like 12,000 watts not enough to start the air conditioner? Is that the question?
Yeah, Anna says that they had two F3800s, and I might mess up the terminology because there is a limit on like a 3-ton AC will be okay with this system. 4-ton, it gets a little bit trickier. So the system for my 2,700 square foot house is 3-ton, and it is a little underpowered for that's my AC. My AC is a little underpowered for my house. Like I took it because I'm cheap. A 4-ton would have been better, but now see, fast forward a couple of years, and I'm really glad I did the 3-ton. Sorry, Anna. More questions. Everyone, keep them coming. Sherry says, I love this product. Sherry, we should say, works for the brand. And so we adore you, Sherry. Thanks for the good props. I'm fine. I'm scrolling up for another question here.
So one of the questions that I had, if you're still scrolling for questions,
Yeah.
that as a on the electrical engineering side of things, because I'm a little nerdy, I wanted to know, like, does this create a race condition with my solar inverters? Are they both like
Hold up,
fighting
hold up.
for
Yeah,
voltage?
oh, got you. Race condition is when you've got that competition. Okay.
Yeah, so are they, because the way it works is it increases the voltage so that the loads can it consume the batteries here. So the same for the solar inverters, they increase the voltage a little bit to backfeed to the grid. So I was wondering, oh, does that create a race condition? But it actually doesn't, because, and someone explained this to me, that it has to do with the current. So it tries to keep the current, it'll manipulate the voltage to keep the current in the direction that it needs to go. So bottom line, there's not a race condition.
That's really good to know. I mean, again, like you want the system to work, and that would obviously be not a condition that would allow it to work properly or very efficiently. All right, do we have more questions? You guys, we're running out of questions. So thank you. Lou says the support on email is great. Do we have a plan on hiring live technical support? You know, Lou, I haven't heard that, Lou, but I love that suggestion. And if you're in the Facebook groups, and in this case, the F3800 user Facebook group, I really do what I can to advocate for customers. And I don't care if the engineers and the product team they get frustrated with me because it's not personal. I am literally serving as a customer advocate. So I'm gonna plant that seed. Um, Realistically, do I think that we are well positioned to execute on that even in the next year? I don't think so, to be honest. Um, because that's just a whole other sort of system to set up and train for. But as we move into these systems that are whole home, whole house power systems, you may have heard we have the HES, the X1, and that system is not DIY. It really does require, it's far more sophisticated than the F3800 system. But like having that live support would be just a fantastic service to offer our customers. And, we're here to win business, and that's a great way to win business and seal some loyalty. So I'm going to take that suggestion to the top of the chain that I'm a part of here. So thank you for that suggestion, Lou. That's a really great idea. Oh, you're so welcome, Lou. He says he's grateful for my openness to customer feedback. Oh yeah, I love opinions. Jim Sipes, who is very active in the group, and I'll tell you, Jim is one of my favorite people in the group. He's very knowledgeable. He's heavily invested in this system. He's very curious, and so he learns about things, and then he shares that knowledge very broadly. I mean, I don't do this work in the groups alone because I can't know everything. So, Jim, once again, thank you for your help, your support, and your kindness. He mentions that one of the users has a 4-ton AC unit and had a safe start installed, and it did work, but when without it, it would not. So there you go, Anna. There you go. Like get the soft start, figure that out, and you should be up and running and cool as a cucumber. Thanks, Jim. That's a really great solution because yes, he knows it's been commonly talked about in the group. So I hope you're still with us, Anna, and you heard that. Oh,
It looks
Randy.
like there's another question.
Yeah, I'm excited. Randy is asking, on the app, the house shows the solar panels on the roof, but when I plug in the panels, it pops up a panel on the ground. What triggers the input from the roof solar input? I don't know. Reese, any ideas?
Uh, well, my guess is it's this current sensor that would trigger the roof little blue line, the solar panels on the roof, the blue line from the roof, and that when you plug in the XT60 connector on the side, then that's
Hmm.
going to show the like kind of solar panels on the ground picture, and then feeding them. I saw another question in the chat about can you use solar panels while you're using it to backfeed to the loads in your house. And I don't know if this is the exact question, but yes, you can use the XT60 inputs on the side down here while you're backfeeding power to your house. So I've done that plenty of times
Awesome.
where it's actually dark out right now, so I can't even show you the screens. But I have a couple of solar panels out back, and I can power this and charge it while it's being used.
Oh, that's fantastic insight. Excellent. Thank you for that. Robert has a question too. He says he was told that going over 25 amps on the XT60 connection inputs is fine as the F3800 regulates. Is that correct? Do you know? I have a sense of that answer.
So, if I'm understanding right, usually on the MPPT, as it's called, that figures out how to convert whatever's coming in on the solar to the voltage for the battery pack, that the amperage is not so much what you have to worry about. You have to worry about voltage.
Yes.
So, because it'll take as much amperage as it's allowed to take to feed into the batteries, but you do have to worry about voltage. So you don't want to go over 60 volts on either one of these XC60 inputs.
Correct. You want to keep it between 11 and 60 volts. So certainly don't go over 60 volts. Robert, let us know if that answered your question. We talked about volts more than amps in this, so let me know. I will say, though, if you're talking about solar, if you're talking about your home, your whole home, like rooftop solar system, and you want to use the F3800, you don't have those voltage limits. You don't have those kinds of limits when you have the home power panel. That regulates things. So it wasn't clear to me, Robert, in your question if you were asking, if you were asking about a system that included the home power panel or not, but that's critical to, you cannot have the home power, you cannot have a whole home solar system and a single F3800. You got to have the home power panel just because, it's the regulator. So we'll move into Reese's thinking. What are you thinking, Reese?
Oh, on that particular point, it depends on what you want in the end. Do
Yeah,
you want do you want it so that it's the time of use savings mode where you have the home power panel,
right.
and if you have a rooftop solar, that's if you have rooftop solar and you have a system like this, it's think of it as like they're kind of independent of each other. This is only sensing the current that those inverters are outputting, but how big that system is and what it is and what kind of inverters it is kind of doesn't matter to this system. It just
Right.
matters where that solar point of connection is to the grid. What matters is what you're going to plug into the side of the F3800. So, but at 60-volt limit, you can't really string two rigid solar panels together, that because they're usually 30 to 40 volts, maybe 50 volts, the
Hmm.
bigger ones. So you have to parallel them to stay under that 60-volt limit.
Fantastic. Yeah, that's great additional information. Randy has this. This is going to be our final question. We're already over time, so Reese, I know you're clocked in, and we pay overtime, time and a half. So this is great.
Nice.
Yeah, for sure, right? Randy L says he has two F3800s with two expansion batteries and the smart panel. I think he means the home power panel, smart panel, kind of the same thing. He didn't get the CT for that. Is it an option? I don't know what the CT is in that. Do you? CT?
Well,
Randy, tell
CT
us.
stands for
He
CT
knows.
stands for current transformer.
Oh, well, thank
Uh,
you.
so
Making a
that's what
note.
CT stands for. So there should be, if you got the home power panel, and there should be three CTs. So one, they're like little black clamps. They're the ones that go around your two mains, your 120 mains. And then you have this one right here. So this is the third one. It looks a little bit different. And this goes on one of the 120 volt lines coming out of your solar inverters.
Hmm.
So if you didn't get one and you bought this and you only got two out of three, then it potentially just didn't make it into the box when they packaged it.
Right. We say a lot in the group, and I say this because it's true and it has to happen. Randy, you need to reach out to support for that. Support at anchor.com, and make sure you have your order number or your backer number handy, and make sure you let them know that it just didn't make it into the box. And I don't know why that happens, but I mean it's a human run operation, so we're not robots. Um, Reese, I have a special favor to ask you. There's a question here from Chris Lagner. I'm sorry if I'm not saying your name correctly, Chris. I recognize him from the group, and he's right. This question has come up in the group a few times. Can we ask one more question? Do you have
Sure, go
time?
for it.
We do. Oh, you're so generous. Thank you. Chris says they only have one 3800 connected to their HPP. They're considering adding a second for more backup time. Okay. So he's thinking he could charge one via the solar panel on the shed, which isn't close to the home power panel. And when it's low on charge battery, to switch them out. So can he swap out these units, or is there an easier solution? It's a story problem.
Okay, so um, you have two F3800s and the home power panel in this situation, correct?
Yes.
So my first thought is, why not just have it like I have right here, and then run your solar cable and plug it in, find a way to get the solar cable from that solar panel or panels from the shed
On
roof,
the shed.
and just
Yeah.
run that. Yeah, run that right into the side here. That
My
would be my
guess
question.
Yeah, my guess would be that there's some distance there. And then there'd be a question about like not like then what gauge cable to use for that. Um,
Yeah, there's a lot of calculators online that'll help you with that. But why don't I just demonstrate? If you were going to swap it out, here's what you would do. So you would, there's just one cable here. Can you see that? Is that
yeah.
anyone pointed at it? Okay.
I
So
want to give
if
your
you,
daughter a shout out here. She's doing a fantastic job, and we really appreciate
yes, she
her.
is. So what you would do is there's a breaker on the side. Just turn that off and then unhook that. And you would get your other one and plug that one in. So it's pretty easy to plug in
Easy.
and you can't get it wrong because it's keyed. So I just plugged it back in, flipped that breaker. Now we're back online.
And your internet did not fail. Even better
Oh, well,
when you
see, the
switch
thing
the
is
breaker.
that I could turn all of this off. It's the grid is always going to be there. So it's just flowing through here and it's the brains in here are going to tell these inverters should they, increase their voltage to supply power to the home loads or not. So it's not going to cut power to the house, if that makes sense. It's just cutting the communication and the power to the F3800s.
That's so great. Thank you. Thank you so much for your time, Reese. I want to give a couple shout outs, not only to Reese for his generosity and sharing his expertise this way, but also to his daughter. She's been an amazing camera person.
You're getting a
So,
shout
so
out.
thank you, kiddo. And to Sam, my colleague, my coworker, who's done a fantastic job keeping this train on the rails. So thanks you everyone for joining. We're grateful for your business. We appreciate your support. Join the group. It's the F3800 users group. Lots of really great folks in there. I mean, often I just go to that group because I'm like, oh, like what happy thing is happening? And that group is full of knowledgeable people, and it's a good feelings place. And I do my best to moderate in a way that really supports helpful kindness, um, learning. Secondly, this device, the F3800 and the home power panel, they're on sale right now. I am told that these prices, they're not going to be any lower this year. Um, so what I've been saying in the groups, because I like to share these things, um, you might get the same price in November. You might. I don't know. I don't control that. But it is the lowest price we're going to be able to mark it down to this year. So check that out. Join the group. There's links in the group that can direct you to exactly the product, and I'm always there to answer questions or at least go bug people for answers. So with generally I'm successful. Thank you everyone for joining. Thank you everyone for your time and energy. We appreciate you, and thank you so much. Thank you, Reese.
All right, thanks for having me. Thanks, Juliet.
Yeah. Talk to you soon. Bye, everyone.